Alien 3 is one of the most infamous movie sequels of all time. It is a movie that has been derided time and time again for undoing the satisfying ending to its beloved predecessor, Aliens. And beyond that, Alien 3 is a movie that had an infamously troubled production that I could spend a whole video talking about. Long story short, Alien 3 went through 5 different scripts before eventually settling on its final version. And even after a final script was decided on, it was being written as the movie was being filmed.
I think the biggest problem David had was that we never had a concrete draft of a script to go by. And here he is directing his first movie.
As you can imagine, this created a very chaotic and oftentimes hostile work environment for those making the film. The movie's director, David Fincher, has been very vocal about the fact that the movie's production was an absolute disaster, and he himself has disavowed the movie in multiple interviews.
My first movie, it's fairly well known, was a disaster. I stupidly felt that the people who were financing it had more to lose than I did if it was bad.
It's amazing to me that Fox is the #1 studio in the country because they're all such a bunch of morons.
Even when 20th Century Fox invited David Fincher to return to the franchise to make a director's commentary as well as a director's cut, he refused to do so. Suffice it to say, there is a lot of bad blood surrounding Alien 3, both from the fans as well as the creators. But before Alien 3 was filmed, the original script for the movie was written by acclaimed science fiction author William Gibson, best known for writing Neuromancer and being incredibly influential in the development of cyberpunk as a subgenre. While Gibson's script was ultimately rejected by Fox, it was eventually published as a novel, an audio drama, and a comic book. I listened to the Audible version of the script mainly because I was excited by the fact that they got Lance Hendrickson and Michael Biehn back to play their respective roles from the original movie Aliens. Having gone through the Alien movies recently, I was curious to see how William Gibson's Alien 3 would stack up against the movie we got. And after listening to the audio drama, here are my thoughts. The biggest positive of William Gibson's Alien 3 compared to the movie is that it does not undo the ending to Aliens. It keeps the characters intact, both physically and emotionally, from where they last were at the end of Aliens. The returning characters still feel true to themselves, and their arcs feel natural from where we last saw them. This story also includes a new faction in the Aliens universe who are meant to be an analogy for the Soviet Union and Communist China. One of my biggest problems with the Alien franchise is that almost every entry has Weyland-Yutani as the villain over and over again. So introducing a new faction into the mix helps to spice things up and makes the universe feel larger and more expansive. Gibson also uses this new faction to deliver a message about the danger of arms races and the need for humanity to put aside its political differences for the sake of the survival of the species. This obviously would have been a very timely message given that Gibson's script was being written as the Cold War was nearing its conclusion. On top of this, William Gibson's dialogue fits in very naturally with the snarky and sarcastic tone that both Alien and Aliens established for its characters. It is also a very fast paced narrative that does a great job of balancing action with exposition and character development. And from a production standpoint, the audio drama itself is very well made. Lance Hendrickson and Michael Biehn both give excellent performances as Bishop and Hicks, respectively. And the sound effects for the creatures, weapons, and technology are accurate to the iconic sounds that the movies established. It is this kind of attention to detail that helps make the audio version so engaging and entertaining to listen to. The strangest aspect of William Gibson's script is how it makes use of both Ripley and Newt. Despite being major characters in Aliens, in Gibson's version of Alien 3, both Ripley and Newt have little to no effect on the plot. Newt is shipped off back to Earth, and Ripley remains in cryostasis for almost the entire story. And in Ripley's place, Bishop and Hicks take center stage as the main characters. And while both Bishop and Hicks are used well in the story, it is very strange that Ripley and Newt were sidelined and separated, given that their relationship was the heart of Aliens, and Ripley herself was the protagonist of the prior two films. For all of its faults, Alien 3 did keep Ripley as the central focus of the narrative, and suddenly switching to Bishop and Hicks as the central characters is pretty jarring. It may not be as bad as what Alien 3 did to these characters, but it is still disappointing to not see these characters that we grew so attached to in the previous film. The other major fault with Gibson's Alien 3 is that it unfortunately stumbles into the third movie problem of repeating a lot of the same beats as the previous installment. While there are plenty of attempts to separate this story from the previous two by introducing a new faction as well as a new xenomorph hybrid, ultimately those elements don't change the overall trajectory of the story. It is still another plot about a group of humans trying to escape a location that is overrun by xenomorphs. As such, I do think there could have been a lot more done to make the plot of this script feel distinct from both Alien and Aliens. Overall, my assessment is that had William Gibson's Alien 3 been made into a film, I do think it would have been a better movie than the Alien 3 we got, but it wouldn't have been a masterpiece. Gibson's script feels like a more natural sequel to Aliens and does expand on the universe in ways that could have led to more interesting sequels. But the sidelining of Ripley and Newt and the rehashing of a lot of plot points from Aliens still would have made this the weakest of the Alien trilogy. It is by no means a bad sequel, but its highs are nowhere near the highs of Aliens or the original Alien. Still, the performances were all excellent, and it was a lot of fun to get back into this universe and consider how the franchise might have changed had this been the movie we had gotten. Overall, I'm giving William Gibson's Alien 3 3 out of 5 stars. Let me know down in the comments about your own thoughts on Alien 3 as well as the rest of the Alien movies. Would you have preferred Gibson's script or do you like the movie that we got? If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe and stay tuned for more videos in the future. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video.